So Josh, you're obviously discussing with Tyler what you think Half-Life means, so you reckon you could share that with the rest of the class?
Half the life of the element.
Usually if we're using the defining word in the definition, it's not our best work. Let's have another go.
Like decays and like...
So what do you mean by decays?
It'll break down.
Break down and become?
Keep halving.
Yep.
Well, doesn't completely go away.
Never completely goes away. So if I told, for example, Liam at the back to stand up and walk half the distance to the door, half the distance again, half the distance again. Liam, you can leave whenever you reach that door. Will Liam ever leave this class?
No.
How lucky is Liam?
Pretty lucky.
Very lucky man. He'll get very, very close, but he will never leave, and that's what half-lives are all about. Over a period of time, these nuclear elements decay, and what that means is they change. So over a certain period of time, half of the initial amount will become something else. Sweet. Nuclear half-lives can go from a fraction of a second to thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So it's a really wide span of timelines. So in your own words, describe nuclear half-life. I'd hope to see words such as decay, time, obviously the word halve. What else would I like to see? Any other words I could see, Will? Mass, very good. Any other words that we could think of that we've got written down? So if you had something along the lines of the time it takes for half the mass to decay, perfect. Sweet. So we've got this nuclear half-life equation. It's pretty gross, but it tells us a lot. What can it do? What can it do for us?
We can calculate the expected mass over a certain length of time.
Just the mass?
Well, we can calculate all the things.
It can calculate everything. What do we need for that to work though? We need to know all the variables except for? So if we know all the variables except for one, we can find out any of our unknowns, correct? So that's the equation. Really the only thing left to do, because I'm not going to ask you to find or to just show me why an element decays. I'm just going to ask you how long or how much or when this will occur. So all we really need to be able to do is say, well, what do each of these letters stand for? How do we rearrange, which is a skill we should know in mathematics, and how to mentally estimate, which should be a skill that we have from being human beings. So what do those letters stand for? What does n naught half to the power of t on h mean? What do you think n stands for, Ryan? How about you give me one of the variables then? We've done this before. Have a guess. What do you reckon T stands for?
I don't know. Have a wild guess. Oh, the time.
Yeah, very good. What does the H stand for? What do you think, Ben?
Half.
Half. You're halfway there.
Half-life.
Very good. The half-life. So the half-life of the material. That might be given, that may not be given. We might be asked to find the half-life. What does N and N naught stand for, Logan? Give me one of them.
Number of half-lives.
Number of half-lives. Not a bad guess, not a bad guess. Number I like, I don't like half-lives.
Initial amount.
Yep. So which one's that, N or NO? NO is the initial amount. Now that can be either, when I'm talking about the initial amount, that can either be atoms or grams or kilograms, so I'm just going to call atoms or mass. You want to help me out? Thanks, Aaron. Finish it off.
And she's
The final amount. And again, that will express in atoms or mass. As this is not chemistry, they will come, if they come in your exam, they will come as the same thing. So they'll either both be atoms or both be mass, not the same thing. What about time and half-life? What do we need to be aware of there? If I've got, for example, a half-life of 3 minutes, and I want to know what happens after 1 hour, what do I need to be aware of? Logan? I need to be aware of my unit conversions, but providing they're the same, it doesn't matter. So if my half-life's in seconds and my time's in seconds, all good. Sweet?
Yeah.
So that's the first one done. We've identified what each letter stands for. Now we need to know how to rearrange. If only someone had taught us how to do this before. Sean, has someone taught you how to rearrange before? What's the process? You don't need your iPad, Nathan. You can knock that down, mate. Logan, you want to help him out?
Like which one you don't know?
Yeah, I want to find. So how do I go about isolating the variable that I want, or getting it by itself? I use something that starts with R.
Do the inverse of whatever function you're still in.
Yep. So I'm going to call that opposite operations because we don't always know what the word inverse means. But every kid I know knows what an opposite means.
Does it all stand for reverse bid?
It does stand for reverse bid mass, and that tells us, what does the reverse bid mass tell us? Very good. If you're in year 10, semester 2, and you did not know reverse BOMDAS or reverse bid mass was how we rearrange, you need to fix that up very quickly. So the most important thing you can do right now is highlight reverse bid mass, circle it, put a line under it. I don't care what you do. Make sure that you know that's how we rearrange. Because the difference between you succeeding and not succeeding can be that skill set. It is that important. It comes up in math, it comes up in physics, it comes up all the time, and we need to be comfortable doing it. So let's go through an example, because the best way to do this is to go through an example. Let's pick a question from our worksheet so we're not doubling up on work, and let's try and go through that. So the steps to solve, how to mentally estimate we'll cover in a second. The steps to solving this is, what's the steps to all problem solving? Nick, what do you reckon the best thing to do in problem solving is? I'm reading this question here. How much of a 100 gram sample of gold, 198, is left over after 8.1 days if its half-life is 2.7?
Identify what variables you can find in the question.
Very good. So identify what I have and ask yourself, what do you want? What do you don't know? So let's write down what we have in question 1. I'll give you 30 seconds to do that by yourself before I start going.